So, you know how whenever something Digimon related comes around, people typically come out of the woodworks to say that Digimon is a much more thoughtful and careful thought experiment than Pokemon, and generally has a much higher quality story and thoughtful characters than it really has right to have relative to its source material and purpose. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the manga, is not like that, but it does hit sort of similar in that it does have a thing to say that is maybe a little bit more than its source material gives it right to. So in the manga, which is an entirely different entity from the manga outside of the basic character personalities, about a third of the way through, they ask the main rival character, why does he want to be a duelist? And to my surprise, instead of giving a sort of generic shonen answer, he said something to the effect of what motivated him and what really inspired him was that the current king of games, who's their own original manga character, was another Japanese person, and that inspired him to go out and just start dueling. Because in a field that's mostly predominantly American, or at the very least European, that someone like him could succeed. And on some level, as a person of color, that did hit me a little bit. And then as the plot went on, there's this sort of subplot that becomes the main driving narrative of American duelists being seen as a very big threat to the Japanese duelists. And then it hit me, hold on a second, is the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga trying to talk about Japan's relatively complicated relationship with imperialism? Now, I am not a scientist, even though I tried to get a degree in history, but that didn't quite work out. But I'm not quite an expert in the field, but I think so. And I say this with enough caution to where I feel like defense from the text does help me here, but I don't want to just sound clickbaity. This is just something that I legitimately found interesting while reading it. You see, all throughout the series, the American duelists are seen as a big threat and very foreign. Like, they even have different uniforms. And, even though ultimately it turns out, as in Yu-Gi-Oh! Tradition, there's another bigger force behind it, it still was endlessly fascinating to me that Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, of all things, would have a message for Japanese people to get up and get out and do stuff. Now, I don't have the socio-political clout to say, what the relevance is in that. Especially because this isn't quite an uncommon theme in anime, like those last couple of episodes of Samurai Champloo, or, honestly, countless others, like, a huge chunk of Rurouni Kenshin, but more often than not, these are things that, take place during, like, the more Meiji era. So it was super interesting to see Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the manga of all things, have something politically to say. Now, again, I'm obviously, not a Japanese person, and I, don't understand Japanese politics, but I do think that there is an ongoing theme in this show that does actively state, hey, listen up, guys. We really gotta start taking control of our own destiny. And relative to the context of the manga, the we in question here are, the main characters, but that has the broader context because they're mostly interacting with, other Americans. The broader context of we is Japanese people. And again, in the context, they ends up meaning American, or at the very least foreign, but the vast majority is American non-Asian powers. Now, I'm talking about this with the assumption that you've read the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga, or at the very least, you're listening to this trying to reverse engineer what I'm trying to say. But again, this is dang, perhaps I should make a video gust, not quality video essay gust. Because I figure maybe this video thing I'm doing is a good starting point to present multiple theses. I don't think that's a correct term. Thesis that I have for something, knowing that I'll circle back around to it at some later point, letting, this just be a bit of a first draft. Okay, so that's the video for today. Whoa, whoa, we're 1/3 there. Whoa, oh, living on a prayer.